Hello and welcome back. This is our webinar on the planning section of level 2 in gym instruction, and just to give a little bit of a recap before we get started of where you should be at before you start looking at this unit. So majority of your lap should be finished. Most definitely you should have done unit 2 and you should have an understanding of who your client's going to be and what their needs are and what they're looking to achieve through their physical activity. Also, you should have probably started revising for A&P and the principles of fitness, because that knowledge that you've got there is going to help you to design a well thought out session for your client. And really, before we kick off, I want to give you a bit of an explanation about planning and why it's so important, because if you can't plan, then you're going to struggle to make a career as a trainer or as a personal fitness instructor, because the way you plan and what you get your clients to do and the sessions that you get them involved in is ultimately going to determine what kind of results they get. And if your clients get poor results, or they don't see any results, they're not going to stay with you, and you're going to be in this vicious cycle when you're looking for new clients all the time. If you can deliver as a PT, if you deliver good sessions that work, that are enjoyable, that meet the client's needs, then you're working as a more efficient personal trainer, and therefore you're going to build a bigger, more successful you, whether you're working as an independent PT or if you're going out there and if you're working in some of the gyms, you're going to be more successful if your planning is well structured. And all too often really these days when I go to the gym, and I know it's a common complaint from people that are involved in education, is there's so many PTs who just teach sessions with no planning involved. It's right, come on, let's jump on the treadmill. Randomly then they're doing some stuff on some weights, so then jumping up and down, doing this and that. It's not structured and it's not thought out. And if you want to be one of those trainers that's earning a real big income and is really successful, you need to be planning the sessions for your client. And what we're doing now in this in our level 2 lap is we're looking at the fundamentals of planning, and we're going to look at how to plan a gym session to meet the needs of our client, who we identified back in unit 2 when we did the questionnaire of our client. That's who we're going to plan the session for. And before we get cracking, I want to have a little look at this sheet here that's on the screen, and this is page number 25, okay? And this page really tells us what we need to be looking to do with our planning. So we're going to read through it together, or I'm going to dictate it out, and then we should have an idea of what we're looking to achieve. And then we'll go through the lap and I'll show you exactly how to fill in each box and give you an idea of what needs to go where. So when we're doing the planning, if we look at this bit here where it says, please ensure you use exercises from table 1 when planning your session, and table 1's at the back of the lap. But essentially what we need to be doing is we need to have a warm-up and a cool-down. We need to use 3 types of cardiovascular equipment. So in this session that we're going to plan, we're going to use 3 types of CV equipment. We're going to have 4 resistance machine lifts, so that means we're going to have 4 exercises on resistance machines. We're going to have 4 free weight lifts, so we're going to have 4 free weight exercises, and we're going to have 3 body weight exercises. So body weight exercises, stuff like press up, sit up, pull up, stuff where we're not using extra resistance but where we're using our body weight. And we're planning for it to be a 45 to 60 minute session. And when we go and we get stuck in and have a little bit of look at what goes where, you can see that sort of session will normally last for that amount of time. And it also says you should complete 1 session plan for each of the following. So we've got 1 cardiovascular equipment, 1 resistance lift, 1 free weight lift, and 1 body weight lift. So what we're going to do first, we're going to do this bit at the top, where we identify the 4 lifts for resistance machines, the 4 lift for free weights, the 3 different cardio machines we're going to use, and then we're going to choose 1 of each. So we're going to choose 1 CV, we're going to choose 1 resistance, we're going to choose 1 free weight, we're going to choose 1 of our body weight exercises, and we're going to break it down in even more detail. And we're also going to look at putting in some adaptations, which is the bit down here. So, I might choose the bench press, and then we might look at how I can adapt the bench press for 14 to 16, older adults, pre and postnatal, and disabled clients. And that's where your knowledge from principals is going to come in. So if you've looked at that unit already, you should have some good ideas about how to adapt these sessions. Got a little bit about instructing here. I'll leave you to read that in your own time, but essentially what we're looking at here and what we're talking about is what you're going to be required to instruct when you do the practical. Okay, so when you do the practical, we'll look at 2 CV, 3 resistance, 3 free weights and 1 bodyweight exercise. So no need to worry about that right now. Let's really try and focus on the planning element of the session. And what you need to do is come down to this page here, page 26, all right? And first thing we've got here is this is our program cards. This is the bit that's going to give us an overview of the session and what our sessions are going to look like. And I'm not going to actually be typing these in so you can see them. So I'm going to type them in with you and you'll be able to see my session plan that I put together. And the first box we've got is safety checks. So detail all checks carried out and subsequent action taken. And then we've also got on this side special adaptations. So these need to be filled in on the day that you deliver your practical session, because let's look at special arrangements, for example. All right, let's say if we rock up to do our practical and it's a really hot day, we're going to have to make a special arrangement and make sure there's drinking water available and that maybe we have more of a rest break because it's hot. Let's say that we've planned to use the treadmill, but when we get to the gym, we find that all the treadmills are broken. We're going to have to put some kind of arrangement in there. So we're going to use a cross trainer instead. We're going to use a rower instead because that equipment isn't available. And we've also got safety checks on the left, and in there you'll be detailing the safety checks that you've done before the session. So made sure all the machinery is in good working order. We've made sure if we're using free weights that we've got clips to clip onto the barbells especially. We've checked with the client and made sure that they're healthy and they're good to go. Down here, location of nearest telephone. So if you're doing the session here at our office in Great Bar, then the location of the nearest telephone is going to be on first floor reception. Okay. Nearest first aid kit. Again, this might be different depending on where you're delivering, but our nearest first aid kit is attached to the wall near gym entrance. Okay, and that's where you can find that. Duty first aider, so it depends on what day you're delivering the session, but who is the duty first aider on site? And put that in there, because obviously when we deliver the session, this is going to be important information. Now, if something does go wrong, we need to know where that phone's going to be. We need to know who's available to deliver first aid. And I've spelt reception wrong, so I'm just going to rectify that. And that's that. So make sure you've got those ticked off and that they're going to be accurate. And then once we've done that, we'll start to look at some more interesting stuff. We're going to look at some actual planning. And the first thing we're going to plan for is our warm-up. And it's going to be a CV activity. And what I want to do is I want to choose a CV activity that's going to warm up my client. But we need to be a little bit clever in our thinking here, okay? If my client's main goal is to run the marathon or complete a long distance endurance type run, then the main component down here is going to have to be a run, because that's what the client wants to do. If my client's main goal is to complete a long distance cycle, then the main CV is going to have to be a cycle, all right? If your client is looking at potentially gaining weight or getting maybe decreasing body fat, which is quite a common goal, then what we're doing for the CV here doesn't really matter. But be aware, if you've written in when you interviewed the client in Unit 2, if you've written that your client really doesn't enjoy the treadmill, then don't put the treadmill in here, because that's not something that your client wants to do. So be intelligent around that and think about the needs of your client. And what I'm going to do for my session, all right, just to give you a bit of background info, I'm working with a long distance cyclist, and he's looking to compete his first ride over 100 miles. And at this point in the plan, he's relatively new to the plan, so he's been in for 2 or 3 weeks. So the CV for my warm up, I'm going to use the rowing machine. And obviously the activity that I'm doing is going to be rowing. Time. So how long are we going to spend doing this? Alright. Our warm up needs to be 10 to 15 minutes. Ideally. You know, if you're working with someone who's a little bit older, then they might want a longer, more gradual warm up. If you're working with a child who warms up very quickly, then you might want to use a shorter one. Okay, so be aware of that and the needs of the client. But a typical person is going to need 10 to 15 minutes as their warm up. We've then got the workload or training zone. So if you've looked into Unit 4, we could record this as a training zone. We've got 4 zones. Zone 1 tends to be very easy, really just gentle sort of exercise. Zone 2 is gradual, a little bit more difficult. Really looking at using the aerobic system. We're not getting into any anaerobic there at all. So it's something that we could do for a long period of time. And then we've got Zone 3. Zone 3 is something like a 400 metre run, so something that uses the lactate system. And Zone 4, that's going to be an all-out sprint. So I'm going to go into Zone 2 for my warm-up. And what I'm also going to do is I'm going to put what I want the heart rate of my client to be. So heart rate of between 125 BPM and 140 BPM. For my warm-up, that's going to be perfect. All right, and then for everyone's warm-up, really the heart rate's going to be quite similar, and that's how we're going to record the workload in there. Then we've got teaching points. All right, for our teaching points, you need to have your manual on hand. So I'm going to minimise this for a second, and then I'm going to open up my manual. And then what you'll see, if you come down to page, it's page 254 onwards, it gives you all, well not all, but a lot of the machines that we use in the gym. And then what you want to do, say if I'm using the, I said I was using the rower, so I'm just going to scroll down here and find the rowing machine. So I'm in the CV section here. Here's the rower, okay? And I'm going to take the key 3 teaching points, all right? So there's 3 things I think are most important for that exercise. So abdominals tight, back straight. That's going to be my first one. So back into my lap. And I'm going to go abs tight and keep back straight. Then I'm going to go back again into the manual and find my next point that I want to go with. So let's say if the next one I think is follow this sequence. I'm going to come out of this again and back into my lap, and then just pop in there. So that's my second one. And then I'm going to need one more teaching point to go in there. I'm just going to space these out so it's clear that they're different ones. And then my next one that I'm going to put in here, I'm going to go back again into the manual. And I'm going to go with keep chain level with middle of the body. Right here. And back into the lap. So you're just going through and getting those teaching points that you think are most important. And that's what I do for my warm-up. So we're using the row machine, we'll be on there for 10 to 15 minutes. We're going to be working in zone 2, and I've got my 3 key teaching points. Next thing we've got is the main CV activity. So this is our main part of CV of the session. So after we've done our 10 to 15 minute warm-up, what then do we want the client to do for their CV? And some of you might be planning on working with clients who their goals are to maybe increase hypertrophy or get stronger and bigger, but for the purpose of level 2, we do have to include some cardio in here as well to show that you can plan for that, and so that you can show that you can deliver it as well. So although you might not do it once you get qualified as a trainer, for the purpose of this, we need to be putting in some cardio exercises as well. So come into that, and we've got main CV component. So for this, I'm going to use I'm going to be doing cycling. So I'm going to put the static bike, and we're going to be cycling because that's the aim. Now, it's what my client wants to do. This is going to be, it's the main cardio, so it's going to be for 45 minutes. You might do half an hour, you might do an hour, probably go maybe 25 minutes absolute minimum, but choose what you want to put on there. And then I'm going to be going up to here. I'm going to be working at around about, I'm going to be working at 155 beats per minute, because I know that that's going to be something that's going to be really tough for my client, and it's going to give him an effective workout. If you're working with someone who's not really used to doing CV, or is coming back to an exercise after a period away, then what I'd probably look to do is not go so high. So maybe go like 120 beats per minute, 130 beats per minute. You can do some research on Google and whatnot and see what you think could be suitable for that person. But you know, if you remember, it's 220, take away 20 is that person's max heart rate. You know, if someone's been away from exercise for a long time, we don't want to be going up to max. We want to be giving them an effective workout that's suitable for them. So just bear that in mind when you put in the training zone in. Then we've got teaching points. So I'm not going to fill that in now, but what I'd do is I'd go back into the manual and I'd get my teaching points, my 3 key teaching points for the static bike, and I'd put them in there. Then come down, and we've got the main resistance training. So this here is fixed resistance machines, and I'm going to choose 4. So you've got 4 going down the page. I'm going to choose 4 exercises for my client using fixed resistance machines. Okay, so my client's a cyclist and predominantly is looking to increase his leg strength, alright? And what you guys need to be doing as well, even if you've got someone whose goal is maybe to increase upper body strength, this needs to be a total body workout. So we need to be choosing things on here that are for legs. Then we need to have a push exercise, so something like chest. And then we need to have a pull exercise as well. So something that's going to work your back. We need to have that in there as well. So make sure that you've got all those elements in there. So I'd normally go the first 2 exercises on legs, then third exercise will be for our back, and then the last one maybe for chest. And then you're making sure that you've got a total body workout in there. If you want to do stuff like arms, like biceps and triceps, that's fine. But what you want to do is when you put your order 1 to 4, you want to work your biggest muscle group first, and then your smallest as number 4. So if I was going to do squats, squats would be first. Second might be my not squats, because this is fixed resistance machines. So if I was using leg extension, which is going to work our quads as well, so leg extension would be first because it's working the biggest muscle. Second, I might have a back exercise, so something like a lat pull down. That's going to work my back. Third, we might use the seated chest press. And then 4, we might do a bicep curl, because that's the smallest muscle. But I'll show you what I'd do for my cyclist, and then hopefully you'll be able to pick it up and see how it works for you. Just remember though, you need to put 4 exercises in fixed resistance machines. And if you're stuck for which ones you want to use, have a look in the manual and choose 4. But just bear in mind you need to keep them in that order. So biggest muscle being worked first, smallest one being worked last, and you really need to have something for legs, something that's going to be an exercise where we're pulling something towards us, that's going to work our back, and something where we're pushing away as well, that's going to work our chest, alright? So make sure you've got all those elements in there. So I am going to do, my first exercise is going to be a leg extension, because I'm working with a cyclist and I want to get his legs nice and strong. Equipment is just going to be leg extension machine. Sets and reps. So we're only working at level 2 now, so hopefully we all know what sets and reps are, but I'm going to go with 4 sets, 12 reps. And really we should be staying around that. We should be doing 3 or 4 sets with 10 to 15 reps at level 2. Just in case you don't know, a rep is a repetition. So if I was going to do bicep curls and I do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, okay? If I do 6 curls, that's 6 reps, then I might rest and do another 6, rest and do another 6. That would be 3 sets of 6 reps. So that's what sets and reps are. And then what I do, again, go back into the manual, get the teaching points and pop them in there. Then I'm going to come to my second one. So my second exercise that I'm going to choose is going to be a seated leg curl. Okay. And I'm going to be using the leg curl machine. And on this one, I'm going to do 3 sets. Of 15 reps. And again, go in and get the teaching points. I've done 2 on legs. Now I'm going to work his back. Because remember, we're working at level 2. You need to have a whole body approach to this training. So I want to work his back. I'm going to do a lat pull down. So you might not be able to do it this fast, but you need to go in the manual and maybe choose your exercise. But I'm doing a lat pull down, and the equipment is the lat. So we're going to go 4 sets, 12 reps. And finally, I've worked his legs and I've worked his back. I'm going to do chest. So I'm going to use this seated chest press. And again, seated chest press machine. And once again, it's going to be 4 sets, 12 reps. Okay, and that's what we're going to do here on the fixed resistance section. Once you've done that, come down the page. We've got our main, so this is our free weights, alright? So it's exactly the same principle as what we did just, but instead of choosing fixed resistance machines, we're going to choose free weights. And, you know, again, have a look in the book. There's plenty of them to choose from. What you do need to do, again make sure that you're working the legs and the upper body, so we're working all of the body, okay? So if you want to put some bis and tris in there, that's fine. You want to put some chest, that's fine, but make sure you've got a little bit of everything going on. And in the order, you need to be working the biggest muscle first, so that's normally going to be the legs, and then the smallest muscle right at the end, which I'll show you how to do. So this is going to be a squat. The equipment that we need for a squat is squat rack. We need barbell, and we need weights. That's my equipment there. Sets and reps. I'm going 4 sets, and it's squats, nice big muscle, so I go up to 15 reps for that. and get the teaching points out of the manual. Remember, you need 3 teaching points for every box, alright? Next one, so I've worked his legs. What I want to do now is I'm going to work some upper body. So I'm going to go chest press, or bench press, some people might call it, but we'll call it chest press here. Equipment we need for that is going to be a barbell, bench, and weights. Again, it should tell you in the manual as well what equipment you need for each one. If you're unsure, run 4 sets and 12 reps on each one. So that's working chest. What I might do now is I'm going to work a smaller muscle group. So I might drop down to his triceps. So I might do something like tricep push down, or tricep extension might be better. That's that one. For that, we just need dumbbells. So you can use dumbbells or you can use barbells in here. Doesn't matter, you can use either. I'm going to be going 3 sets, just a small muscle, and 12 reps. And then right down out, my last one, I'm going to do bicep curl. And for that, I'm going to be using, I'll do mine with dumbbells. You could use a barbell if you wanted to. Prefer to do it this way. Dumbbells. And then we're going to go 3 sets, 12 reps again. And again, you'd have your teaching points. And just to reiterate, guys, please don't copy what I've done, because obviously I'll know, and you need to be doing your own work. So don't copy exactly what I've done. You need to be putting some thought into this and choosing your own exercises that are suitable for your client. Now we're nearly there. This is the bodyweight section. So we'll choose 3 bodyweight exercises. And I'm not going to do this for you this time. I'm going to leave this up to you. So I'm going to choose 3 bodyweight exercises. So it could be press-ups, it could be sit-ups, it could be pull-ups, it could be a back extension. The equipment that we need is going to be very minimal, but if we're doing something like a pull-up, we're going to need a pull-up bar. If we're on the floor doing a sit-up, you'll probably want a mat or something like that. So go through this, put in the teaching points, and then you'll come to CV. So you need some kind of CV equipment that your client can use for a cool down. And what you can't do is you can't use one of the 2 that you've already used. So for example, in mine, I used the rower for the warm-up and the bike for the main session. So I could use the treadmill, or I could use the cross trainer for my cool down. And because it's a cool down, it's going to be 5 to 10 minutes, and we're going to be working at a low intensity. So sort of zone 1, bringing the heart rate back down to what it should be. We've got warm-up stretches and cool down stretches. And what you can do, guys, you leave this blank, because you'll draw these in with a pen or pencil when you come to do your practical activity. If you do want to print it off and put them in, you can do. Have a look in the manual, because all of the stretches are in there, and try and choose stretches that are going to be effective for your client. So if your client's doing a lot of leg type work, then we want to be using legs a lot in the warm-up stretches. There's no point us warming up muscles that we're not going to use for the main part of the program. Try and choose the ones that are going to be effective for your client and give them as much benefit as possible. After you've completed that section, we'll then look at breaking down some of those from the overview. We'll look at going down here and breaking down some stuff into a lot more detail. But for the overview, remember those key points. Remember the order, especially, that the exercises need to be. And you need to have the biggest muscle group first, then the next smaller, then the next smaller, then the smallest. You need to have all the equipment detailed in there for each different exercise. Sets and reps needs to be in, and you need to have at least 3 teaching points for every exercise that you've chosen. Hope that's been helpful. Finish that bit off, and then I'm going to film another webinar that you'll see up next about how to do the next part of the planning part of the lap. I'll speak to you all very soon.